Amber, my question is to you. So in that clip, we see that the other girls are kind of undermining her ability a little bit, right? And they're trying to define her by her disability, kind of shooing her away, not really taking her serious. But as we can see, Melody is she likes the mall. She likes trivia. She also likes the TV show Friends, which if you see it is a big part of this. What is something that you wanted audiences to get from, telling this story about like a well-rounded, person?
Well, it was just that exactly, that she is a well-rounded person. She's not defined by her disability. She has a sense of humor and intelligence and hopes and dreams and fears and anxieties just like anybody else does. That was really the most important thing to me.
Yeah. And Luke, so how do you know Amber? And how did you, what got you to say
I'm going to tell that story. Good.
Might have to do with Ted Bundy, who knows?
Yes, Amber and I made a movie prior to this called No Man of God. I played Ted Bundy, Elijah Wood played Bill Hagmar, who worked at the FBI, and it's a great film, and I didn't know it was going to be a great film, so I said no to Amber when we met.
I don't accept no.
But I met Amber years ago, and we had a really amazing time making that film, and then I don't know if you came to me or if I asked you if I could work with you again.
I think we just, after making No Man of God, we just really had a good creative kinship and knew we wanted to work together many other times. And so when it came to this, I was like, well, I feel so bad making him be Ted Bundy, which he was listed. So now I'm going to make him be this wonderful best father of the year to kind of balance it out.
Sounds great. Now, Phoebe Ray Taylor, who is in the audience over here, who plays Melody Brooks, right over there. How did you go about casting Phoebe? How did that process go? And did you work with the book's author, Sharon M. Draper, to help facilitate what you were looking for?
Well, so let me just start by saying that about 30% of the American public identifies as having a disability. But in Hollywood, people with disabilities don't often see themselves represented up on screen. They don't see themselves behind the camera. And so I think historically, Hollywood has not been a very welcoming place for people who identify as having a disability. So for myself and the producers, it was always very important that we cast authentically, meaning somebody who had lived experience with cerebral palsy. And not a lot of agencies and managers have, again, people with disabilities. So we had to really open up the search. So we had really wonderful casting directors in New York, Paul Schnee, and he would reach out to doctors' offices. We had wonderful CP consultants on the film, about 8 or 10 different people who had cerebral palsy, or still have, sorry, they're still alive, have cerebral palsy or have children with cerebral palsy. So, we just reached out to the cerebral palsy community, and luckily Phoebe, she had never acted before, but she had just signed on with an agency in England where she lives, and so we actually did get her kind of in the normal way of going through an agency, but we also saw amazing, auditions from people around the world.
I wanted to know, something that is really, really cool about this film is that you have Jennifer Aniston as Melody's inner voice. And like I mentioned earlier, she's obsessed with the TV show Friends, so it kind of makes sense, but how did you pull it off?
So that came from our own Phoebe Ray Taylor sitting over there. When I was, doing the casting process, I was Zooming with her because I couldn't fly back and forth to London. So we would Zoom, and in her bedroom, behind her, there was this purple door with the yellow frame. And I said, do you really like Friends? And she was like, oh my God, yes, I love Friends so much. My name is Phoebe, from Lisa Kudrow's character. And so in that process, while I was casting, we were also doing development and work on the script. And so Daniel Stiepelman and I, we were talking about, we talked about so many different, who would this voice be? Who would she, this girl, this 12-year-old girl, find? And it was important to me that it was something that she would have seen out in the world, that heard an advertisement or seen on television. So we thought about like Dolly Parton and Oprah Winfrey and all these things. And then when we found out that Phoebe had this obsession with Jennifer Aniston and Friends in real life, I was like, well, Phoebe has that, and Melody can have that. And I was like, well, there's 6 friends. We'll start with our top pick, which was Jen, and if she says no, we'll go through the rest of them. And, but Jen very, very happily said yes right away, and so yeah.
Another stylized choice that I really liked is Melody has a lot of facial expressions to express sarcasm, anger, happiness, but then you also intercut these word blocks in there. Can you kind of talk about this stylization and how you guys worked together to create this authentic experience with someone with this disability?
Yeah, so when people are nonverbal, they learn to speak and communicate in many different ways. So one of them is that, picture board, or their Meyer-Johnson symbols are the ones that are most commonly used, but there's a lot of different ones that are trademarked. So we actually came up with our own symbols. Our art director and production designer designed them. But basically the concept is that a lot of people who are nonverbal, they start off with visual things that they can point at to either spell out words or a picture of somebody who's hungry to say they're hungry, and that sort of thing. And so we felt like this was a device that Melody would have had her whole life and used her whole life, and therefore when she wants to express that she's angry, probably in her head it would flash to this. I mean, because kids that use those, they don't even have to look. They know where those things are on their board. So I felt, to me, that was a good way of representing what was really going on for her in her own. I mean, it was all about getting into her head as much as we can.
And Luke, working with your movie family, I wanted to know, your character is a dad who's stern, but he's more open to pushing Melody to where she wants to go, more so than her mom, played by Rosemary DeWitt. So how did you kind of work with Rosemary to create this dynamic?
Well, we fought a little bit, and came to the conclusion that I was the nice guy. I think we're still going to fight about it, probably. We spent good time together. Rosemary's a powerhouse of an actor and stellar, and also an incredible person. So just great to engage with in sort of building this family together. It was very, very special. I'm glad I was the nice guy, though.
Was there a learning curve because you also have to work with Melody in the movie, so what was the learning curve like for you on a set that's so special and unique as this one?
We were able to spend time together prior to filming, which, was very instructive and helped better understand that, what the family dynamic would be like. It was really just kind of the luck of being able to have a bit of time to immerse together that helped with that. And Amber sets up a really, I don't really know how to describe the set, but there is a kind of flow in the set where the day is full of surprises and full of experiments. And you really, I just find if you're open to it, it can be really rewarding.
And so, Amber, there's a lot of representation that still needs to be had on TV in the films with people involving people with disabilities. So, what do you think are some of the barriers to that?
Well, one of my favorite quotes, which is from the I think it's the Inevitable Foundation, used to say, "There is no DEI without disability." Of course, now we're in a phase of there is no DEI either anymore, so we're really kind of in trouble. We're going to have to work extra hard to improve things. But I think people always ask, how can we sort of make other people comfortable with disability, and part of it is just normalize it. I mean, one thing that I loved in learning when I was researching the film was the concept of it's presumed competence. I had Dr. Catherine Ray say it in the film. It's just when you see somebody whose body moves differently from yours, or who communicates differently from you, maybe doesn't speak with their mouth or with words, presume that they're a competent human being. Presume that they have a personality and an inner life, and that was just life-changing for me when I learned that. But I also think, the more that we expand the concept of disability and don't think of it only as visible disability, but also invisible disabilities, neurodiversities, and the more we speak out about our own differences and challenges, whether that be you wear glasses or, I think we take the stigma out of disability and neurodiversity. I mean, I think the younger generation now, it's amazing to me, kids with neurodiversities see that, and disabilities see that as a superpower now. Whereas when I was a kid, if you got any sort of diagnosis, physically, mentally, in terms of how you learned anything, it was like a death sentence. And that's just simply not true. Just because your brain works differently or your body works differently does not mean that you can't do anything that anybody else can. So.
Amen. Okay.